How you doing, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Umbrella Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Marcus. Today's episode we're going to call Nothing is a Coincidence. You're not really going to be able to convince me that a series of remarkable occurrences and the perfect aligning of the stars and all these series of events just happen for no reason at all. I don't believe that. I don't think it's just random. I do not believe these things are random coincidences. I think these things are a series of choices. And I think every action has a reaction. And I think that our life plays out as such. It's more about, do you recognize these things when they come? I think everybody has a hard time with maybe acknowledging things that may be gut feelings. But I think everybody knows that there's something in your life that kind of gives you a feeling that you can't really describe. But you just know it's either for you, not for you. But it's in that moment that you're given the choice, do you act on it or do you not? I think the struggle lies when it comes to understanding when a sign is actually meant for you and it's actually presenting itself as a sign. I think most people look at all these things that happen that are random or whatever the case is. They happen, it's just like, that was just random. But the series of events that had to have occurred before that, for them to line up the way they do and present themselves to you, I do believe there's power in that. The same way I believe that there's power in the feeling people get when you get deja vu. I think deja vu is one of the trippiest things ever. I like, my mind is blown that you can be in a moment of something and you just have that innate feeling in you that you've been here before. You've done this thing before. And I don't believe it's just like you've been in a moment that's like, oh, this is like similar to something that I've lived before. No, you've literally been standing in the exact position that you've been in before with the exact series of events happening in that order that you know that you've done this before. I feel like when I ask people, what do they feel when they get deja vu? They always say, it's like I've been here before. I believe that. It is. What if you have? What if, just walk with me right now, what if when you get that deja vu feeling, what if that was a sign or a reset for something? What if that was an acknowledgement from the universe or whatever the case is? What if it was an acknowledgement that this is a moment that maybe you've been reset to relive again for a specific reason? Now, I don't believe if, you're on your birthday, you went to a restaurant and the waiter gives you your favorite dish or something and you're like, this is a sign. That's not a sign. That's just like, it was the soup of the day. Like, there wasn't like anything behind it. Or maybe there was actually. I take that back. Maybe it was the soup of the day because it's your birthday. Everything happens for a reason. See, in that moment, you just caught live me actually thinking about, no, I can put a tie to it and make it, feel as though there is something behind it. That's a choice. I don't, people are pessimistic or people always look at the negative in things. That's just not ever how I've been. I always try to find the positive, but I more so try to find the reason behind something. I do believe there's a reason behind everything because I don't believe in coincidences. So even that example, I do believe that you have the choice to view it any way that you want to. And it's up to you. That's your power. Free will and freedom of thought, that's given to you. That's bestowed upon you for you to act on however you see fit. But what you say in those moments, the directions you take in those moments, that's on you, and that's a choice that you have to live with. Me personally, my signs started, from an early age. I think what I loved just kind of fell into my lap. I think everybody knows, or you should know, things that make you happy. We are all human. We have emotions. We understand things that make us angry. We understand things that make us happy. We understand things that kind of get us giddy, but we understand the excitement of possibility. I think everybody has, at one point in time, had that excitement of what if? What if? I mean, we ask people all the time, in a perfect world, ... And I always wonder, why does it have to be a perfect world? Why is this current world and this current reality that you're living in, why is that not the perfect world? Things may not always go the way that you planned, but things go exactly how they should. who is to say this isn't the perfect world? I had great examples growing up. One of probably my biggest examples of just flat out entrepreneurship was my father. He was an inventor, but he was first and foremost, before anything else, he was a business owner. He owned a toy store, believe it or not, for those who are local to the Pacific Northwest, local to Portland. He owned a toy store in Gresham. And I think people ask me later on in my life, how did you start your own company? It seems like it's so tedious. It's very meticulous. There's a lot of thought and foresight and things that have to happen. I just don't know how to do it. It seems overwhelming. The tasks seem daunting. It's just too much. For me, I kind of got to watch him firsthand break down the process. And I think the process is what I love most about hearing and listening to and kind of sitting down with entrepreneurs. I want to know the process. I love to hear the goal. That's awesome. But I want to know, what's your process? What was it? Because breaking something down step by step, for me personally, helps me kind of understand exactly how to kind of orchestrate something and pick apart a dream and make it actually turn in and speak it into fruition and turn it into a reality. For him, he was able to, first and foremost, he was able to get a bank loan, a business bank loan. He was able then to find a commercial property that he could actually sell and do retail out of. He found the products that he was going to put inside of that store. He marked them, priced them, figured out all of that, hired a staff. It was very 1, 2, 3. It wasn't like all of this kind of fell into his lap. He had to work for it. But it seemed as though there was an actual structure behind what he was doing and a format. And I thought that was very interesting because to me, that's how you start a business. Just one by one, knock off things one by one. And slowly your dream will turn into something that's a reality. For him, he was able to kind of parlay that for quite a long time. And it was something that he loved. But for me, it was just like, okay, that's the spark. When it comes to outside of entrepreneurship, what I love, first and foremost behind me, I love art. Art was kind of my first love. Shout out to my oldest sister. She was she still is an incredible artist. And she did things just with ease. She was able to draw and do things just with ease. And I thought that was fascinating, to take an idea out of your brain and be able to just kind of scribble it together and it looks incredible. I love that. I loved painting. I loved art in any kind of aspect. I didn't know, though, that I could be, artistic or that I could be an artist. I don't consider myself like Picasso. I'm not some crazy artist. I didn't go to art school. She did, but I didn't. It just kind of came to me that I realized, it's something that kind of brings something out of me that I'm going to show my age here. One time when I was little, there was an episode of Different World. A Different World, for those of you, was based on a bunch of African Americans who went to a black college, and it was a spin-off from The Cosby Show. It was a really good show. They were having a special guest on the show. I can't remember who the special guest was. I don't know if it was Immature. I don't know if it was another performing artist. Can't remember. And I was looking forward to seeing this episode. Now me, I was a rambunctious little kid, acting up all the time. I got in trouble. And my punishment was I could not watch that episode. It was obviously live. We weren't recording and stuff doing that back then. There was no TiVo and there was no, Hulu and Netflix and things that you can kind of just record. You missed it. Period. And maybe you'll see the rerun, but if you missed it, that's it. So for me, when I got punished and my dad said, you can't watch the show, I'm not sure if it was their idea, my parents, or my idea, but the door was left open of my room. And it's like I could hear the episode going on in the living room, and I could hear my family laughing at the episode, and I'm in my room stewing. Like, I am pissed beyond, I couldn't even comprehend how mad I was of the fact that I was missing this episode that I was so excited to watch. And I sat down and had a beanbag chair, and I was just frustrated, just super frustrated. I could hear them laughing. I can hear people in the cast saying jokes, and I'm just like, ah. And as I'm just super, super mad, I'm drawing. I have, a pen to the pad. I'm sitting here just drawing random scribbles and whatnot, and I start working on something. And I'm getting my frustration out, but I'm working on something. When the episode is over, and my dad said I can come out of my room, I realized I drew a picture of Homer Simpson. Believe it or not, I drew a picture of Homer Simpson, and it was really, really good. And my dad said, "Wow, that you just did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I just did it." And at the time, I was just like, get out of my room type stuff because I was so mad still that I missed that episode and that I was on punishment. But he was like, "Wow, you just did that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I didn't really even realize that I stopped paying attention to their laughter, to the sounds of the TV show, to everything. I blocked it all out and I just focused on drawing. And I lost track of time. I didn't even care anymore. I was more focused on completing whatever this was in front of me. I completely lost track of time. And it made me feel better. I was no longer mad at him. I was no longer mad at my family for punishing me. I was understanding of why I was punished. But it just kind of felt like it was a calming experience for me. That for me as a boy, I was able to kind of focus my energy and my frustration into something instead of just being aggressive and breaking things and slamming things and being mad. I focused it, I harnessed it in, and I kind of created something through my anger. But I didn't realize that that was the beginning of my love for art, what it does for me. It puts me in a zone that makes me feel like everything around me, time just like stops. And it's incredible to have an idea and it comes together, through every little brush stroke, through every pencil stroke. Everything kind of just slowly starts to come together. And then when you see that thing coming together, you get excited because it's like appearing right in front of your eyes. It was awesome. And I think that was the first time I realized I like this. I want to do this more. So I had art in the bag. I loved it. I wanted to get better at it. Aside from art, fashion. I loved clothes. I didn't really necessarily want to be like a top designer or anything like that. I just loved clothes. This was in the 90s when I was growing up. I was born in the 80s. This was in the 90s when I was growing up as a kid. And back then, both my sisters wore boys' clothing, men's clothing. This is when like Criss Cross and all these hip hop artists were wearing, if you were a girl, TLC, you were wearing, male apparel. And so when we went school shopping, they would get male Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, Gap, all these things that were like male sizes from the male section. So I could just take their clothes as if they were my older brother. I could use that same kind of method of sneaking in their room, grabbing a shirt, grabbing a pair of pants. It was all men's clothes. To me, I didn't see any difference in it. And I started going to school and people were like, "Oh my God, those Nike boots, those are crazy." And I'm just like, I got to get home and not get these dirty before my sisters get home and see that I took their boots or I took their sweatshirt. But I loved, how I felt in clothing. When I felt like I looked good, I liked the compliments. I felt like it was just something that I liked getting really, really dressed up or just really like stylish. It just was really cool to me. Those two things stuck forever. Those two things that I loved gave me a gut feeling. Once I kind of harnessed in on those two, I focused in my art more and I focused on dressing more throughout high school and then boom, into college. The high school years, I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but I was always drawing. People I don't think really knew that I drew because I didn't put it out there, but I always did. And with fashion, I feel like I, definitely hit strides in high school where I had like a lot of dope things, in my opinion, that were awesome, that I loved, that were stylish things, until I went on a trip, the Heritage Tour, my senior year, which was a tour of a lot of not only historically black colleges, but just colleges on the East Coast. Just to see where, the history of these schools, and for me to see, if any of these schools are going to be places that I want to actually attend. One of the schools we went to was the HU, the one and only HU. That's Hampton University, not to be confused with the other HU. That's Howard University. Hampton University was a place that I applied for. And it was a university that I was in a program for those who are from Portland, and for those specifically who are from Black Portland. I was in the Prospective Gents Club. And we had a member that had graduated a few years earlier. He ended up going to Hampton. He was there when I went to go visit the college. The college was beautiful. I believe they called it your home by the sea, because it was built on like a bay kind of area in Hampton, Virginia. There was absolutely zero in Hampton, Virginia, but a really, really beautiful campus of Hampton University. So when I applied like a couple months before I went on my heritage tour. Went on the heritage tour as my other classmates and them were kind of touring the campus. One of the directors, the actually main front runner of the bridge builders, the Perspective Gents Club, Kevin Fuller, he took me to the admissions office and he said, we're not going to leave here until we get an answer. I want you to know if you're going to be here next year or not. So the admin person came out and said, how can I help you? He told them he applied here. He wants to know if he got in. We're here. Let's see if we got in, like live while we're on campus. I'm thinking he's crazy because, like, I don't know if they can make that decision that fast. But it turned out she goes in the back. We sit and wait for maybe, 10 minutes, but it seemed like a long time. I'm thinking, like, this isn't going to work. Like, they're probably going to say, we're still on the waiting list or whatever the case is. But she comes out and she says, congratulations, welcome to Hampton University. So I immediately was like, oh my God, I just got into a college that I really wanted to go to right here, right on the spot. I know where I'm going next year as a freshman in college. So I'm pumped. So I tell my family, of course, my family is livid because I'm going to go from Portland to Virginia all the way across the country. This was the beginning of me feeling like when you were born in Portland, all you wanted to do was get out. And I say that because back then, in my opinion, Portland really didn't have an identity to me. I didn't realize the Keep Portland Weird thing. That was our identity. I didn't think about that. I just thought nobody came from here. We have the Blazers, but that's pretty much it. There aren't big things that happen in this city. We barely get, musical performers that come here back then. It just seemed like a small town. I just didn't feel like I wanted to be here forever. And those who are from here know this is easily a place that if you're not careful, you can be here forever and never leave. And I just didn't want to. I wanted to go as far away as like humanly possible. Virginia was probably one of the furthest places I could possibly go from Oregon, but I was like, hey, I'm going here. My parents were like, okay, whatever. So fast forward, summer goes, and then I go to Hampton. Freshman year starts, I go to Hampton, and I'm having the time of my life. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful school, beautiful campus, unbelievable kids that went there. Had a great time. I still didn't know really what I wanted to do. I was going to school for business. I figured my dad owned businesses. He's an entrepreneur. I should do something with business. My major in high school, shout out to the Benson Tech alumni 2003 class, but I went for communications, which was video, film production, and photography. Another huge sign of what I was kind of put here to do. So I, am at Hampton, and one night there's one dude. Well, there was a couple guys, but there was one guy that was a freshman that was in my dorm that cuts hair, and he was on the top floor of our dorm room. He was cutting everybody's hair, and you just had to let him know early, and then you can come up there and he'll cut you. So I asked him, when can I come? He was like, come up later on tonight. I'll be free. Come on, I'll cut your hair. So I'm like, cool. So I don't know. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. Nobody's walking around. Everybody's kind of going to sleep in their rooms. I go to his dorm room, knock on the door. He's like, oh, yeah. Come on in. I walk in his dorm room. And when I walk in his dorm room, I'm looking around and I see T-shirts, some blank, some have paint on them, everywhere. They're hanging off of his bed. They're hanging off of his chair, his desk. He has a ironing board. He has them draped over that. There's bags and bags of paint brushes. Half the shirts were finished with paint all over them. Others were looking like they're ready to go. There's like iron. He's ironing shirts. And I'm thinking like, first of all, did I interrupt something? But more importantly, when I walked in, I'm like, oh my God. Like, what the hell is this? I had not seen anything like this. There was another person on campus that did some like shirts with paint on them, and that didn't start with this kid or that kid. It started, from what I was told, a long time ago. I don't know where city wise. I know Philadelphia, DC, and Baltimore had heavy influence on putting paint on shirts. But I saw him kind of in his element, finishing up, about ready to cut my hair. And I'm just thinking like, I need to know what this is, because this is incredible. I can't believe that like this is how you can make money. You can just buy your own t-shirts, put some paint on it, do your own design, sell them. Boom. Anybody that knows like people that cut hair, especially like black people that cut hair, they have 15 different side hustles. They don't just cut hair, they do everything else, and they'll sell you anything else. This was one of his hustles. I was blown away. I'm asking him while he's cutting my hair questions like, what, how, when, what is this? And he's from, I think he was from Philly. And he's telling me, this is his company name, and, he buys the paint from the paint store, and he gets the shirt from the white tee guys, and he's just putting paint on shirts, and he's selling them. And a lot of kids in our specific class were buying them. That blew my mind, and I knew right then and there, this is something that my gut is telling me, this is something that you should be doing. There's something here that is interesting you. This is what I mean by following signs and understanding that nothing happens on accident. I could have been anywhere else, but this kid cut my hair. This kid had another whole different business that he was running. And this was something that I was introduced to through him, through this moment. When I got back downstairs in my dorm room, I could not stop thinking about all of that. Like how he was doing his operation. Man, I wanted in. I just didn't know how. So more of the year goes by. Eventually, freshman year of college ends. And although I loved my year at Hampton, I wanted to transfer to kind of get a bigger university experience, because I felt like some of my friends were in other universities that were a lot larger, and their experiences of their freshman year was completely different than what mine was. Hampton University, although amazing, it's a private university, so there are a lot of rules and a lot of guidelines you have to follow, or else, you're out. So for me, I wanted to transfer. I was going to miss my friends there, but I ended up transferring to another school, which I had a friend there, but I transferred to Temple University. Temple University is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is where everything for me began. Everything that I'm doing currently all started from Temple University. The next year happens. I'm a sophomore. I'm at Temple. And I get a couple months in, not too much, a couple months into the year, my sophomore year. And the friend group that I'm around, coincidentally, are a mixture of older, a couple of kids who had graduated. One of them was now one of my business partners in my first company, Greg. Shout out to Greg. I met him through kind of this process. And Obina, another one of my friends that he was kind of on the scene throwing parties. He wanted to get into it more. He just had a really well networked kind of body of friends of his, and he just knew his way around campus. He was exactly who he should have been in that era. And I think even he would say his current life definitely started around those years of being at Temple. So I remember one day, I didn't have a lot of money back then, and I was in Philadelphia where Temple is. First of all, it's in North Philly, so you have to be extremely careful. Everywhere you go, you have to be extremely careful. But in North Philly, like, You could go downtown, you can go down to the South Street, you can go kind of shopping there. But for me and a struggling, college kid, you gotta, if you want t-shirts, you gotta go to the White Tee Man. Down the street, there's a dude who sells bundles and bundles and bundles of blank t-shirts, black, white. I realized like, oh, you can get 3 of these for a discount price. You can get packs of 5. Like, this is pretty good. I'm just gonna wear these because Sneaker Villa, I think one of the stores there was by our campus, there was only a couple stores. Everybody bought the same stuff. So if you're going to a party, you're going to a dance, whatever the case is, I was just really, really tired of wearing the same thing as everybody else. I felt like anytime I got something new, 5 other people had it, and it was just like, all right, I'd rather just do something myself. And boom, I realized, go to South Street, get some paint, go get the shirts from the White Tee Man, find the shoes that you love that are, creative colors, and just match the shirt around your shoes, period. It was simple as that. So I'll never forget one night, I bought a pack of like 5 t-shirts, and I had a pair of Air Force Ones, shout out to Nelly, but Air Force Ones that were like red and white. And so I just put, the iron out. I remembered exactly how that kid was doing it at Hampton. And I was just like, boom, iron the shirt, put some underneath, put a little design on top, match the colors to a T, no pun intended, to a T to match your shoes. Boom, you're finished. So I did something real simple. It matched my shoes, let it dry overnight. When I woke up, I was like, moment of truth. This is where I think like my confidence in myself, I didn't really care that I did it. I didn't care that I made my own thing. I think some people might have been like, oh, I'm not good enough, or this looks stupid. I really didn't care. I felt like, no, I like this, and this matches perfectly. And I know for a fact, nobody's going to have this tomorrow. I'm the only one that's going to have this t-shirt. So I go to my business class. I step outside. I got more compliments off that one t-shirt than I had with anything else I ever bought in Philadelphia. Any name brand, any item, it doesn't matter. I got more compliments for that one thing that I did, that one t-shirt, than anything else. And it cost me like a quarter of the price of what I would have paid for something at a mall. And I knew like this is something. This is kind of reminiscent. This is like deja vu of what that kid was doing. I can do something like this where I can make my own. I can design my own shirt, put whatever colors I want on it, and nobody's going to have it. Hit the ground running. Shout out to Obina. He was definitely a person that was like, hey, make me a shirt. I'll wear it. I got a lot of shoes. I'll wear one. Make me something to match these shoes. And it became person after person asking me, make me something to match my shoes. I got these shoes. Can you match this color? The more crazier the color, the better the design was, because it was just like, who is going to have a shirt with these 4 wild colors put together? I can make one. I'll do it for you. And it just seemed like I steamrolled into like progress of this, making shirt after shirt after shirt. I was buying 3 t-shirts, 5 t-shirts, a dozen t-shirts, 2 dozen t-shirts. All of a sudden I'm like making t-shirts for damn near, it felt like half that campus at Temple University. And for those of you that went to Temple, if you knew me or you knew any of our friends in that group, you wore something of mine or something that I made on my dorm room floor late at night. You had something. So it kind of took off, and I realized like, wow, what I saw from Hampton helped me in my current situation. I would have never went to Hampton had it would not have been that person taking me there during a heritage tour and making sure I got in. I would have never applied had I would have not felt like I was kind of being trapped in the city that I was currently born and raised in, Portland, Oregon. I never would have been able to take photos and make videos had it would have not been for my dad showing me how to edit and, produce content, actual photos and commercials, like he did for his own company. I couldn't turn this company into an actual LLC had he would have not shown me what an LLC actually was and what it is to incorporate something and, have it be something that eventually you can have, tax write-offs for. It can be something that can generate real income for you. Every single thing had to have been behind another action before. While I'm at temple, I'm having a great time. Now I'm making clothes for everybody on campus. We're throwing parties. Me and my friends were throwing parties. We're doing really, really well. I'm networking around not just my campus, around the city of Philadelphia. One day, I go to there's a speech. There's a big kind of there's going to be a bunch of speakers speaking in Philadelphia. One of them is going to be a monk, and I'm really big on like spirituality. Not the biggest like religious person, but I do believe in like certain things in spirituality. I do think that it's bigger than us. There's a moon, like I said before in my last podcast, there's a moon hanging over our head. We're on Earth. We have consciousness. We have deep rooted consciousness. There are things that we have subconsciousness. I don't even want to get into that because that's a whole new thing that I'll geek out about. But like, there are things that kind of prove that this is all bigger than us. And so nevertheless, I go to this kind of this speech, this conference, and the monk gets up there and he tells this story about someone that he met, someone that kind of came into his group a long time ago. And the person who converted themselves into becoming a monk actually had a family before he converted himself into becoming a monk. And that guy said that when he had a life-threatening, something happened to him, a dramatic event happened to him where he basically was dead for a few minutes, critically, like clinically dead, everything, heart stopped, all that. He was resuscitated, brought back to life, and he said that when he died, he became, he just was embraced by a voice. And this voice said to him, okay, I want to tell you right now that you passed away. You are dead. And the person said, oh, what? Like, are you serious? What do you mean? So what? I have a family. Like, I have kids. I have a wife. What is this? And he said, the voice said, well, I want you to know that, there's no coming back, but a couple things are going to happen. One, your wife will remarry and she will be very happy with a new husband, down the line. She will grieve you for a long time, but she will find love again and she will feel whole in her life again through this other person. He will do very well for her. He'll do well for your kids. Your kids are going to have a great life. They're going to go on to do great things. Your son is going to do this. Your daughter's going to do this. How do you feel about that? And the guy says, first I'm irate. I'm pissed. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I'm like blown away that I can't believe that this is it. I didn't get to do half the things that I want to do in my life. I can't believe that this is it. I never even got to say goodbye to these people. But I do, and I am happy to hear that, my wife is still happy, that she was able to kind of move on and still find happiness in her life. And that's what means the most to me, that my kids were successful, that they were happy, that they carried my torch, so to speak, that they were proud of me, and that kind of life went on without me. But I'm happy that they were able to do so well without me, and I think I did my best for them, and it seems like it kind of paid off, and I can't ask for anything more than that. So I guess it kind of is what it is. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of this, but this is basically the nutshell of the story. And the voice told the guy, you got it. You understand it. And the guy says, what do you mean? And he goes, you passed this current test. This current test was about you shedding your ego. This was about shedding your doubts and guilt and all these things you have towards your friends, your family, and all these things. You understood that it's bigger than you. It's always been bigger than you. And you were for once finally able to put other people in front of your own happiness. And you were able to understand that their lives were able to go on and be happy and successful. It may have took a while, but they ended up being exactly who they should have been and following the route that they should have followed. You get it. You understand that it's a selflessness act and how you have to realize that it was never about you. It was always about others and your effect on others. And you've kind of, I can feel like you get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you back. I'm going to recreate you. And you're going to come back this time as like a 3-year-old girl. And you're going to have another route and more tests in this life that you're going to have to pass. And if you do, you'll see me again, or you'll hear me again. And, we'll see what happens. The whole point of that story was that the monk was telling us that this voice was telling the man, you're supposed to live every single life on this planet before you can finally float off into like divine eternity. You have to go through every type of up and down through every life in order to really grasp what the point of life really is. And once you've done that successfully through all these lives that I'm going to make you live, you'll never remember each one, but every time that you complete it, I'll give you the next one. To me, it wasn't really about if the story was true or not. It was about the concept of what if you're supposed to really kind of follow through with a certain task in this current life. And the only thing I can think of outside of family that can make you like truly happy is doing something professionally or something that is a talent of yours or something that makes you happy, doing it to the utmost. Because if you do it to the utmost, that brings you, almost just as much happiness as having kids and healthy family and stuff like that. Doing and really living out a dream of yours. I thought it was fascinating that that's a good concept. That's kind of really interesting to think, what am I doing? Am I doing enough? Am I able to, say that I've given all that I possibly can in this current life? Probably not. So from then on, I just like really went hard for everything that I wanted to do. These signs, even if you may not see them, you can feel them. These signs are palpable. You can feel them. They can come out of you. They can give you a sense of, just happiness and bliss and euphoria that you just kind of never could get out of something else. Portlander came about because I felt like once I spent my time on the East Coast, I was so like I yearned for representation of Portland. I wanted to feel, I was proud of where I came from, but I wanted other people to see like how amazing the city really is. And I think that it was just like in the back of my head the whole time, I want to be a part of, the growth of the city of Portland. But I want people, when they leave, when they go to college, they miss their hometown. There are little nuances that they miss that you can only get from our city. Creating a little slice of reality that people can come to that only you can create. They can only get that reality through you and what you create. That is very, very deep and very powerful. You can actually create something that no one else can do, that people can get that feeling from only by coming to you to get it. And I think that speaks a lot towards entrepreneurs that have that goal of creating a product or creating something that is deeper for people and they could feel. And I felt like the Portlander was something that I was so ready to get out of the city when I was 18. But later on in my life, I was so proud to come back to the city. And I was so proud to be a part of the city. And I was so proud to try to incorporate what my goals and dreams and passions are, my talents, and hopefully that's the growth of the city. When I came back, the city was on the up and up. I had been gone for a lot of years, and I came back and the city was definitely growing. I'm from the old Portland, and I know there's people that are older than me, but I'm from the Portland of the 80s and 90s, where I'm from the Newberry's Portland. You know what I mean? I'm from, my mom was going to Lloyd Center when there was no top to Lloyd Center, when Lloyd Center was actually a thing, I'm from the number 9 bus going to Benson. I'm from the number 8 bus. I'm from when getting on the 6, you were going to be on MLK running into all kinds of chaos. I'm from when the Blue Line Max was coming to pick us up when we used to live in Gresham, like original Portland. I'm from when Benson Jefferson High School basketball games, before they were at Child Center, when they were at Madison, when they were so big they had to move from Madison and go play at the Child Center because so much of a crowd came. I just felt like I was part of an era. I'm from when the Pearl District was the industrial area, and nobody went down there. Fun fact, it's kind of eerie to think also that for those of you that are born here, that have lived here for decades and decades, you remember that downtown wasn't safe. Downtown was kind of very reminiscent of what it looks like now. I'm talking post George Floyd riots, crime. When going down to the industrial area was crazy dangerous. When going to Saturday Market and catching one of the trains underneath that bridge was wildly not safe. Like, it was never sweet downtown. Before all the restaurants came and blew up downtown and it became a number one city to come to for food and stuff. No. When nobody wanted to come here, when nobody cared about Portland, that was the Portland I was from. It's odd to think that the, what you could say, decline of our city, a lot of people left. And a lot of people that left, percentages, weren't ever even from here in the first place. They came here, tried to build something. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But they got hit with the 2020 wall, and Portland kind of went back to what it used to be a little bit. Scared them off, and they just flew. They went somewhere else. They dipped out and never came back again. For us that have been here long enough, it's like this is very reminiscent of what it used to be. So why would I give up on it now? Why would I leave now? This is exactly what I remember when I was 10. Downtown looks identical now. So like, it's gonna be, back again. The city will be back again. It may take God knows how long, but it will come back. Everything in life is secular. Everything in life is secular. Eventually the city will get back to what it's supposed to be, and those people will come back in droves again, and the city will be right back, thriving again. I wanted to be a part of now the growth. So instead I wanted to create a company that was based in the city, not when it was the fun city, based when the city was struggling. Because if anyone is going to bring back Portland to where it needs to be, with the help of out-of-towners, and I want to rephrase that again, with the help of out-of-towners, people that have came here and actually put in blood and sweat to making our city what it is and stayed here, we appreciate you guys. But I want to be a part of the original Portlanders who were born and raised here, that know what the vibe is, that have always been weird since day one. I want to be a part of that. I want to say that I helped the city get back to where it was through something that I did and I created because I'm from here. This is my home. I was happy to rep it when I was in the East Coast, and I am in love with it still to this day, no matter what it looks like right now, currently. I think another thing that was big for me was representation as a minority business owner. I was lucky enough to have a father, a black father, who was able to show me about ownership, creation, entrepreneurship, and, business management. And not a lot of black men teach their young black sons that same thing. And I feel like I was lucky to have him as an example. I was lucky to have the gift of gab that I received from my mom. I was lucky to be a personable person like how she is. I was lucky to find my love of art through my oldest sister. I was lucky to find my sense of style through my middle sister. All these things of how I am came from these people that weren't just put in my life on accident. I was born into the exact family that I should have been born into. And it just feels like a disservice to me and in my life if I don't see that through. If I don't follow that through and kind of find out if I can tie that with someone else and they can have that same feeling. I love Umbrella Conversations podcast because, again, it's not about the goal of whoever I'm talking to, of what's your main goal. That's great. But I want to know, what makes you tick and why do you do the things that you do? And when you were about to quit, when I felt like my companies weren't taking off, when I felt like school was getting too hard, when I felt like I just wasn't where I was at in my life, I never gave up on the idea that, but I'm here for a bigger reason. I can't stop. I have to live this life all the way through because I'm going to have to answer at some point. I'm going to have to answer for it when it's all said and done. Did I do what I was supposed to do? And if not, I got to go do it again. Why not say in this lifetime, this is my perfect world? Who says perfect has to be flawless? That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Who says it has to be without any negativity? You can't have good without bad. And I think people forget about that. You cannot have success without an abundance of failure. You can't. How do you even appreciate when success does come to you, especially natural success? I'm not talking about an overnight celebrity. I'm talking about you worked your ass off and something actually paid off. You can't really, really, really appreciate that unless you went through all kinds of ups and downs, all kinds of failures. I love the people that get it out of the mud, who get it from nothing, who stay with it. I think there's something to say about those kinds of people. But I want to know, and I want to see through this podcast, what's the common tie? How are we related? Because I think that there is something that is so beautiful about watching the process of someone going from nothing to something. And I'm not just talking about going from no money to a lot of money. I'm talking about the inception of an idea, of their dream, into the reality of it coming into fruition. That is beautiful. But don't just tell me the beginning and the end. Show me and tell me the middle, the journey, show me the middle part when it got real dark and real gray. What can I pull from that I can relate to? Because I feel like the one thing we have as humans that we like and we champion other people when we see them succeed is that we find something in them that is relatable, that we can relate to and say, I feel that same way. I want someone listening to this podcast or future episodes to say, I was just about to quit. I was literally just about to quit until you said that. For me, it's important to show that we are way more alike than we're different. I'm talking about everybody in human nature, everybody in humanity. We are more alike than we're different. Finding that relatable tie with someone that's something that you can't really explain. That's a feeling. I love watching stories and clips of people that have had these, really, really rough lives or just really challenging moments, and to say and pick apart points that I'm like, I've been there. I thought I was crazy. I just needed to hear someone else say something that I can relate to, that I myself can say, damn, I said and thought that exact same thing. I'm not alone. I think we're pitted against each other as humans. We're pitted against each other as business owners. We're pitted against each other as just people. Like we're supposed to be alone and you gotta, you're born alone, die alone and all these things. No, man. Like we have so much more in common that if we just talked more with each other and if we weren't so egotistical and, self-centered, we would share more, be more vulnerable to share these experiences, because someone out there is relying on you to be you in order for them to become who they're supposed to be. And I want to say that again, because that's something that I was told when I was younger. There's someone out there who is literally, they may not even know it yet, but they're waiting on you to become whatever it is that you're destined to become so that they can become who they're supposed to become. Because something in your story resonates with them. It's relatable. We're all connected. It's relatable. Relatableness and those common ties show that we are all here for a specific reason. The Umbrella Conversations podcast is brought to you by MMI2 Interactive Research, providing clients with the highest caliber of innovative marketing solutions and research data at the speed your company needs. MMI2, we aren't just your vendor, we're your partner. And also by Portland Ave, a lifestyle brand creating thoughtful Portland-themed products that aren't only creatively beautiful, but they also serve as a nostalgic purpose in our customers' lives. Portland Ave, 100% Portland, from 100% Portland.